Good morning, everyone. We're going to wait for everyone to come on in. See people coming in from the waiting room. My name is Natalie, and we'll get started in another minute. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, Lana, I don't have the jewelry, but I try to channel the jscreen colors. So I got the
I love it. I love it. Look, you know what? We're all very what's the word? We're very dedicated to the work that we do. It just
yeah.
comes through in everything.
So we have some, I think our attendees are all coming in. We're going to give everyone another minute and we'll get started at about 7:04 my time, which is 10:04 your time,
Well,
depending
where
on.
are you?
I'm in sunny California.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Okay. I think we have everyone for so far. Let's get started. Good morning to everyone. My name is Natalie Richheimer. I am an outreach and education manager at jscreen, and I am excited to be moderating this incredible panel that we're doing today. We're going to start off with introducing our hosts. Matt, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for joining, Alana. It's great to see you and an honor to be up here, on here with you. I'm really excited for the opportunity to chat today. My name is Matt Goldstein. I'm the CEO of jscreen. I joined the organization in 2023, driven by a personal mission. My oldest daughter passed away from Tay-Sachs disease after a physician made a mistake and ordered the wrong carrier screen for me and misreported my carrier status. So deeply committed to this work and tremendously excited about the partnership and relationship with Sharsheret.
Thank you so much for that, Matt. And Alana, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, Matt, thank you so much for that. Your kind words. My name is Alana Silber. I am the CEO of Sharsheret. Sharsheret is the Jewish breast cancer and ovarian cancer organization. We help women, men, and families who are at increased hereditary risk for cancer and who've been diagnosed or living with cancer. I joined the organization really long time ago. I don't even want to age myself, but 23 years ago, I started out as a volunteer when the organization was just getting off the ground. And I was really compelled by the mission as a Jewish woman, although we help those who are not Jewish as well. As a Jewish woman, hearing about an organization that was started by women, run by women, and helping women, men, and families, I was compelled to get involved. And I never left. I started as a volunteer, and now today, Sharsheret has grown from a handful of volunteers to this national, actually global organization as we just opened an office in Israel as well.
Well, you guys do both such incredible work, and we're so excited to learn from you today. Starting off with you, Matt. Today's topic, we're really talking about how hereditary genetic cancer testing um, can impact reproductive decision making. For those who don't know, can you tell us how someone who is interested in learning that information would test to find out to see if they have a carrier status as someone who may be at an increased risk for hereditary cancer?
Yeah, thank you, Natalie. It's a great question. So jscreen historically was an organization that offered reproductive carrier screening and focused on providing education, access, and support for that process for individuals across the country. We added hereditary cancer testing as another component of our offering about 5 years ago. And it's an incredibly important part of what we do because the Jewish community in particular is at increased risk for hereditary cancers, including cancers like breast and ovarian cancer, but a number of others as well. And hereditary cancer testing or screening is an important part of the sort of cancer care arc. About 10% of cancers can be inherited. And there are things that we can do if we know we carry genes that put us at risk for those cancers to mitigate that risk, or in some cases, eliminate that risk entirely. And so what jscreen has done is to set up a process that makes it really easy for people to learn about hereditary cancer testing, what it is, why you do it, when you do it, and then to facilitate access to that testing in as easy a way as possible, meaning that you can sign up on the website, you can get a physician order instantaneously, and then the testing kit actually comes to your house. It's a very simple test. You spit in a tube, and the DNA is collected from that spit sample. It's run at a lab. We partner with a lab called Myriad Genetics. That's a fantastic, really high quality lab that runs the hereditary cancer tests that we offer. They run that test, identify variants or potential mutations in an individual's DNA, and then provide a report on what that means with regards to hereditary cancer risk. And then we provide support and guidance all the way throughout that process and afterwards, including working with organizations like Sharsheret to have a place where individuals can go to get access to support about what to do next, resources to help them with the information, and guidance on how to change or impact their risk of cancer.
And I think it's so important. You're speaking to so many good points about not just that it's information, but it's information really with a purpose. Alana, I know your organization does an incredible job on educating, as well as jscreen, on what screening can really look like with management and how it can impact family members. And I'd love for us to discuss. A lot of people think about hereditary cancer genetic testing as something that can just impact their own health personally. But sometimes we know that it can really be a part of a bigger picture for someone's life that includes not just their decisions, but really their decisions for having a family and their reproductive journey. Can you tell us a little bit about how testing could impact somebody's reproductive journey and how Sharsheret can really support someone through what can be challenging at times?
Okay. So first of all, what I love about the partnership that we have at with jscreen is that we do different things. And Matt touched on it a little bit. jscreen has very reliable screening. So when a family comes to us, or a woman or a man or somebody who's concerned even about family history and genetic testing, and we help guide them on, like you said, what to do next. So we always include jscreen as a resource for them to check out. The screening's very easy, very accurate. And we've had hundreds, I don't know, maybe thousands of people who've gone to jscreen for their screening, and the results are reliable. And I think that's key. I think whenever you're doing any kind of screening, whether we'll talk a little bit about reproductive opportunities, again, going to the right places for the right screening is really critical. So going to some place that has a great reputation, like jscreen, is part of the process and part of the way that we help people move forward. And it's also important to point out that when we're talking about hereditary cancer genetic mutations, and you're talking about reproductive health, your mind immediately says to women, right? But both genders are involved in reproduction. So the first thing is that men also can carry these genetic mutations for cancer, and they are also half the piece of creating families. So if a man comes and it finds out that they have a genetic mutation, Sharsheret can help them also with their family planning, because you can imagine that he also may not want to pass on this mutation to the next generation. Yeah. So while men can go for additional screening once they find out that they have hereditary cancer genetic mutation, they themselves don't really have to take part in any kind of surgeries to remove parts of the body to prevent cancer. So for when a woman is diagnosed with BRCA or BRCA mutation, which increases their risk for breast cancer and ovarian cancer, and prostate cancer for men, and pancreatic cancer and melanoma for women. So they can do things to protect their health, but then they talk about doing prophylactic surgeries like removing ovaries to prevent ovarian cancer. But then how are they having their children? How are they having babies without these ovaries? So they talked to Sharsheret about timing, right? The recommended age for screening is 25 years old. So at that point, many women and men are thinking about their future and having children. So if women are considering to do some kind of prophylactic surgeries like removing the ovaries, that moves up their timetable and they have to think about it. Like most of my friends, let's say, are getting married 25 and 30, they don't have to think about, maybe they'll start having a kid when they're 30 or 31. With women who are BRCA positive, they're thinking, wait a second, if I want to have my eggs removed, if I want to have my ovaries removed as a way to prevent ovarian cancer, because now I'm at I don't know, 40 to 50, 60% chance increased risk of getting ovarian cancer, I have to have my kids quickly. And that becomes a whole issue. Like, what if they don't have a partner? What if they're not ready to get married? So there's an opportunity, freezing eggs, the procedure to freeze eggs has gotten much, much better over the years. If you already have a partner in your committed relationship or a marriage, maybe you can freeze embryos in advance. So it definitely rushes up the timetable. And then I think maybe later we'll talk a little bit about the psychological impact of all this for both men and women who carry mutations, but it definitely changes the timetable and puts a pressure on, and we can help them try to figure out family planning. And they're all different. The industry is evolving, so there are definitely new opportunities. I mean, we talk a little bit about people who remove fallopian tubes and not ovaries, and you go into menopause. So there's like all these, like, which I definitely encourage everyone to talk to their doctors about. Like, I'm not a doctor, but we can help people understand how they can manage their reproduction using other opportunities with freezing eggs. And that takes you all into IVF and things like that. But it's something that they should be considering if they're testing at age 25.
And I would say, like, Alana, you're bringing up such a good point. You brought up so many good points. I want to touch upon a few of them. But the first is that it takes two people to have a child, right? And that, a man's journey may look a little different than a woman's, and that Sharsheret can provide that support for both men and women, I think is huge. And to really make sure that their needs are being taken care of. They can really talk it through with any of the staff, the support members, and the information you have, I think, is really important. I also think, like you're saying, having that information, like Matt was talking about, getting that information, um, can really open someone up to more choices and help them kind of really understand their timeline, which may look different than other people. So I think you've brought up some really good points. And you talked a little bit about IVF, which is a great segue into our next topic. Um, for those who don't know, IVF is an assisted reproductive technology that allows people to use egg and sperm outside of the body to create embryos, which will hopefully grow into a fetus and a baby at some point, and transferred back. The beauty of IVF is that because we are creating those outside of someone's body, those embryos, we're actually able to test or look at those embryos with modern technology for genetic changes or genetic mutations. And, we've talked a little bit about IVF. That technology for testing that embryo is called PGTM, or pre-implantation genetic testing for monogenic conditions. And it can help future generations. Um, Matt, I know that this is a really important topic to you personally, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your personal story with PGTM and IVF, and really also discuss how that can help people who Alana was discussing, who find out that they're BRCA1 or 2 positive, and how that can guide their journey.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, my wife and I are both carriers for Tay-Sachs, which we learned unfortunately too late to impact our oldest daughter, Javi, who died of Tay-Sachs. She inherited mutation from both me and my wife, and carried then 2 copies of the affected gene, which ultimately made her affected and ultimately led to her death from Tay-Sachs. When Javi was diagnosed, we didn't know that we were both carriers because of the physician error. My wife was actually 11 weeks pregnant with our second daughter at that time. So that was a really stressful period of time, to say the least. And the day after Javi was diagnosed, we were in high risk OB, and she was getting a chorionic villus sampling, a test like an amniocentesis, to test whether the fetus was affected. Kaya is our second child, our second daughter. She's 4.5 now, vivacious, rambunctious, fiercely independent, and she's a carrier. She has my mutation, so we got lucky at that point. That is one path that people can take when they know they're carriers for disease, is to get pregnant naturally and then to do a test to evaluate whether the fetus is affected or not. We decided that we wanted to continue to grow our family, and chose to go down the route of IVF with PGT, as Natalie described. And we're fortunate to have a third child, Ezra. He's 2.5, and we used IVF and PGT for him, and he doesn't carry either mutation. So Tay-Sachs is gone from his lineage, which is just incredibly profound that we have that capability and that technology today. And I think is something that can really transform the way these kinds of diseases impact our communities. Obviously, that choice and that technology is not for everyone, but it's an amazing option and capability that we have. And I think it's very interesting in the context of thinking about hereditary cancer syndromes that can have profound impacts on families, that we have historically really thought of that within the silo of sort of oncology or the silo of cancer. We think about diseases like Tay-Sachs in sort of the silo of obstetrics, gynecology, and sort of reproductive care. But ultimately, those lines, I think, are blurry, and we can use technologies like IVF and PGT to eliminate a BRCA gene from a family, if someone chooses to do that. And we've had a number of individuals who have come through and found those results and made those kinds of choices as well. And I think it's a really interesting and a unique opportunity in the space. And I think, as Alana was describing, the importance and the increasing need to support people around reproductive journeys and reproductive care. That's a capability that I think has grown up in the more traditional sort of rare disease, reproductive disease space, but that has implications and capabilities for other disease areas like hereditary cancers.
And I think it's so profound. The three of us, we live, breathe all of this every day. And sometimes I think, like you said, Matt, we need to take a step back and realize just how profound, like you said, this technology is, how it can not only change the trajectory of your life, right? Enabling you to have children, but to impact, future generations, which is, it is like incredible. Um, Alana, we discussed, you brought up mental health a little bit before, and I want to circle back to that a little bit. The journey of finding out that you are, carrying a hereditary cancer mutation can feel really overwhelming for both men and women. And especially when somebody is in the throes of, like you said, their early life, they're getting married, they're finding their person, they're trying to have babies and, get their life set up. That can feel really, really like an added layer of stress. And Sharsheret does an incredible job of support. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about how these individuals can be supported through Sharsheret, through your organization.
So Sharsheret supports people, but it's also, again, about knowledge and information. And so basically we address everything from the practical to the spiritual. From a practical perspective, we have genetic counselors and social workers on staff who are speaking to hundreds of people every week, every year, thousands of people who are going through this. So you have an ability to speak to someone where each circumstance is so unique, yet there's so much overlap between stories. So you can speak to someone, a social worker or genetic counselor, at a time that's convenient for you. There's no cost. There's no record keeping. This is just a conversation where you're the only person in the room. And Sharsheret can also create family conference calls. So we'll have a family who someone's in Miami and someone's in Milwaukee, and someone could be in Israel, and we connect the whole family so they understand what's going on. Because when you're diagnosed with a genetic mutation, it's not just about you, right? These are genetics, so it affects the family. So it's really important for everyone to, if they're speaking to each other, which is a whole other issue if you're not speaking to the family, but we've worked with that too. But Sharsheret facilitates these family conference calls. And so that's from a practical, like, how do you tell people, this is even difficult, how do you tell your family members, especially those you don't talk to, but what does it mean? And then what do you do once you find out? And so all these kind of questions, we can help you decide what are the kind of doctors you have to meet with. Who do you have to consider? What are you up to? I mean, these are people coming generally, not always, are people because of the great PR, I guess, of jscreen and Sharsheret and others. People are testing for no reason, but the families that are testing because they've seen a family member pass away from cancer, and like, Matt, your loss, I'm sorry, it's like there are no words for what you've gone through. But as a family that's gone through, they've already been so hurt and so traumatized by the loss and the trauma of going through it. So they're already coming and they don't want to experience that again. And so we talk to them about options on how to protect their own health and how to figure out PGT. I mean, there's so many issues that go with it. There's the financial issue. So we can help them find how they can get financial support for this. When is the right time to do it? I mean, we've had stories of women who've gone through, couples who've done PGT, but at the same time, they're doing prophylactic surgery. So they want to, let's say, have a double mastectomy because they don't want to increase their risk for breast cancer, but they also want to do PGT, but they also want to get their insurance to cover pieces of it. So we'll help them maybe figure out how to do it towards the end of the calendar year. So we can, maybe they've had their mastectomy and their retrieval and they have some coverage and just practical things. We can also help them. How do they talk to their children about it? Those that are, older, different ages, right? Because a teenager finding out that their parents are mutation, they realize, wait a second, I might be. So we also help them figure out all the practical stuff, the spiritual stuff. Look, there's a lot of prayer, there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of optimism for the future, but it's not a guarantee. And like, we have plenty of amazing, amazing stories where families are built and they're able to literally cut off the genetic mutation and that all their children are going out there with the same risk as everyone else. And like Matt said, also only 10% right now of cancers can be attributed to a genetic mutation. So while they've done everything they can, they do have the average risk of cancer going out there. But PGT is not perfect, right? We're still people. And at the end of the day, we had a woman who she had 2 kids naturally, found out about PGT. She was already having fertility issues, so she, did it, and all the embryos came back with the BRCA mutation, the BRCA gene mutation. What does she do? What is the guilt of putting in an embryo knowing that they're carrying the mutation? Does she stop her family planning? These are serious questions, and social workers have coping mechanisms and things to deal with it. I mean, we have men who are BRCA BRCA positive and the guilt that they feel making their wives theirs. Doing IVF, it is beautiful, it's incredible, PGT, but it takes a toll on a woman's body. And if the husband hadn't been carrying the mutation and they didn't have fertility issues, they could just go and have a baby naturally. You can imagine the guilt that the husband feels putting the wife or the partner through this situation. So we're dealing with all of those kind of things. We also have a peer support network with other women and men who've gone through this. So women can speak to other women. Who did you go to? How was it? What was the experience like? What, how did you manage it? What if we have some children who know that they're not carrying mutation, others who we know aren't, like all these kind of questions. So we're dealing with that. And so we have the social workers, the genetic counselors, peer support. We make videos. People really like videos. Like, honestly, they see their story in these videos. They're emotional. They're easy to understand. They're not filled with tons of science that they don't get. So we've created a lot of videos on this issue so people can see themselves in that. And just getting to know where to go and help. This is expensive. This is very, very expensive. And I know that in the last week, there was an executive order to make IVF more accessible. What that means, what the details are, we don't know. And obviously, every state is different. But we're cautiously optimistic that this option, while it's not perfect, could cut off a genetic mutation from a family, that maybe it'll be more accessible to more couples.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think what's so interesting that you both brought up, very different, but like how family really can play a role in someone's journey. And I love the way Alana said, like, family's complicated. Some families they don't speak with each other, and some families they've got teenagers, and some it's little ones. And being able to navigate that, I think, is huge. And Matt, the story of your family and how they managed, their particular journey, I think, is huge. And I want to just say the work that you're both doing with the organizations that you're a part of is incredible and so impactful. And we've heard a little bit about what they do. I would highly, highly recommend, if you're interested in learning more, to check out Sharsheret's website, check out jscreen's website, and see what they can offer you. Like we've touched on, I would say, a tip of what these incredible CEOs are doing to impact our community. And I really, really appreciate the time that you've taken to help educate us about really the reproductive aspect of hereditary cancer. Um, I want to thank you both for your time. I want to leave off each of you, Matt, if you have one message to the people who are watching, who maybe this is kind of new to them, all this stuff, what would it be?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think echoing Natalie what you said, Alana, thank you for the time. It's an honor to share the space with you. I think one just maybe my reflection from this conversation is that while these spaces are complicated, genetics is complicated, families are complicated, reproductive decision making is complicated. I think one of the most remarkable things about what jscreen has done historically and what Sharsheret has done historically is the way that this is really a community effort coming together to help and to support people through these things. And I think especially for the Jewish community, the strength of those resources is remarkable, and it's amazing that they exist. And the more that we can help each other, the more that we can come together to help guide and support and navigate these complicated things. The healthier our families will be, the healthier our communities will be, and the more we can thrive. So really grateful for everything you guys are doing, Alana, at Sharsheret, and for the partnership, obviously. I think the impacts that we can have are enormous, and I'm really excited to see what the future brings.
And thank you for that, Matt. Alana, same question to you. What message would you like to leave off with? You've given us such a wealth of information. For those who are listening, what would you like to leave us off with?
So obviously, coming from a breast cancer and ovarian cancer organization, I just wanted to put out there so people understand the risk. 1 in 40 Jews of Ashkenazi descent carries a BRCA, a BRCA gene mutation, significantly increasing the risk for hereditary breast cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, and melanoma. And Jewish families make us 10 times greater risk. And if you have a family history of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, or those other cancers, like, know your family history on both sides of your family. Really important. Knowledge is power. We don't necessarily have to wait for cancer to happen. And there are things we can do to protect our health. So I encourage everyone on the call, you could be at increased risk. So pick up the phone, go online, go on social media, wherever you can. Like jscreen is easy to find, Sharsheret. We're on Instagram, Sharsheret Official. We're on Facebook, sharsheret.org, or call us. You know, everything is free, everything is confidential. These are very private situations. People are not necessarily screaming it from the rooftops when they're doing this. So these organizations are really, we're focused on one-on-one connections and privacy, and really like consider genetic testing if it's right for you and your family. Knowledge is power. And we, between jscreen and Sharsheret, will get you through it and we'll be with you every step of the way.
Thank you so much for that, Alana. We are going to open the questions in the chat. So if you do have a question for either of our hosts, please feel free to put it in the chat. We already have a comment, which I just think is so impactful. It's from one of our participants. As a BRCA2 positive man who is helping my daughters navigate their reproductive journeys, I greatly appreciate this program, especially your discussion regarding men. So thank you, Alana, and thank you to Matt to both bringing that up and really understanding that journeys look different for different people. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes for questions. I am going to ask for you, Alana, while we're waiting for questions, if people want to access Sharsheret's resources, where can they find the number to call?
Okay, well, I could say it now, 866
Sure.
2774, which I think is, you know, 86, it might be like Go Sharsh or something, or 4 Sharsh or something like that. I remember there was something, but 866-474-2774. But like I said, people reach us in all crazy ways. They'll come on our website, sharsheret.org, and they will go on live chat. We've gotten direct messages are huge now, especially with a younger population. Instagram more than Facebook, but still we have a Facebook group, a hereditary Facebook group. People can find us. We'd like to say we are wherever you are, but we're really all about easy access. We know you're busy, life is busy, you don't have time. So we are very good about picking up the phone, getting right back to you, texting, emailing, whatever's easy for everyone.
That's great to know. And like you said, you're national, international, so you've got people at different time zones,
Yeah,
which is
all the
great.
time. Kind of like you guys, I think, too, right?
Yeah, we do and we try. I'm on Pacific. Our panelists are on Eastern, so we've got representation everywhere. Matt, same question to you. Someone has been so inspired by listening to this panel. They want to order testing. Where can they go ahead and order that testing?
Yeah, the easiest way to do it is through our website, jscreen.org. It's a pretty simple process, just a few clicks, a bit of information, and you're off and running on testing. And I think similar to what Alana shared, you know, we're available through all the channels and at all hours. We don't cover the international space quite yet, but people are up at all hours too, so you can expect to hear back promptly.
I want to thank you both for your time. We are going to wrap up for today. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Alana. And we are going to close the webinar. Again, if you want to reach out to either of these incredible organizations, they've provided resources. They're available to you at all hours. You heard it from them, not from me. And wishing everyone a lovely rest of their day.
Thank you, Natalie. Thanks, Alana.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, jscreen.
I think we sign off, Matt.
We're good? All right.
Good. Have a
Natalie,
great
thank
day.
you so much. You're amazing.
Always. Always.
Amazing.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Talk soon.